When you look at this game and the matchups, what are some of the key matchups that are going to define who wins this game?
I mentioned Keely Ringo before. College football corners don't follow. Really, in the NFL, you don't even follow. You got to be ridiculously good to travel with a receiver. But anytime he's matched up on Marvin Harrison Jr., it's going to be box office television. Just because Marvin Harrison is a freak. I mean, he's 6'4", 205, and everything else under the planet. Well, Keely Ringo is a bit of a freak as a cornerback. He's a bigger corner who is physical. He's a first-round draft pick. At least he's expected to be coming this spring. And Marvin Harrison looks like he's going to be wide receiver 1 in the 2024 NFL draft. And so that'll always be an interesting thing to watch. Outside of that, I think, honestly, the most interesting head-to-head battle here is the two head coaches. Ryan Day is the play caller as well. He's an offensive mind. He's known to be an offensive genius. Well, Kirby Smart is known to be a defensive mind and a defensive genius. He's the guy behind a lot of those Alabama defenses that were so great back when he was a defensive coordinator for there, and he's just brought that to Georgia now that he's the head coach. So that, more than anything, I think that's what's going to decide the game. This is the game everybody wanted to see a year ago when Georgia had an historic defense and Ohio State had the best offense. Well, we're getting it a year later, but the way those two call plays and really approach things as two aggressive play callers, that's more interesting than any individual pieces.
So you think the key to this is how well C.J. Stroud and that offense can get things rolling? Is that kind of fair to say, you think?
Yeah, I had a stat, over 150 games in Ohio State's the history of its program where it's scored at least 40 points. They've never lost a single game when they've scored 40 points. And all of Ryan Day's losses, all 5 of his losses, they've failed to score 30. He put that benchmark of 40 on there when we talked a couple weeks ago, and that's the bare minimum if you're trying to win a national championship. That especially goes for a case with an offense like this. If this offense shows up, if Ryan Day as a play caller shows up, if C.J. Stroud as a passer shows up, if these wide receivers show up and they're finishing off drives with touchdowns, then this is going to be an interesting game. But if we see penalties and stall drives similar to what we saw against Michigan the last 2 years, what we saw against Oregon last season, then they don't have a chance in this game. So this offense has to be at its best regardless of what this defense is or isn't getting up.